Hi everyone, Jess here, and today I'm joined with Hans van der Velde from Winair. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Jess.
It's great to have you. So first off, how do you maintain the agility that is required to run an airline which serves a region that can be prone to natural disasters and these sort of disruption?
Well, Winair is located in St. Martin, which is in the middle of hurricane area, but we're there already for 65 years. So we're the oldest airline in the region. So for us, this is the natural state we are in. So how you handle it is, well, first you need to make sure all your partners are aware of this situation. And I'll give you an example. We lease aircraft already for 20 plus years with the same company, and we are loyal to them and they are loyal to us. So they know in this area hurricanes can happen, which means that for a period of time maybe you have some less flying, and they are willing to adapt. So in the past they have shown that they take aircraft back earlier, or they are a bit lenient on payments. So in that way, together you can find a solution. Second thing to do is, we're a small airline, we only have 9 aircraft, but we do have 16 destinations and 28 routes. Not all our routes will be affected. So if you're able to, for instance, to not have your aircraft in St. Martin but in another destination, you can still do a large part of your operation. And thirdly, but maybe it should have been firstly, you need financial reserves.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we have more financial reserves than normally for an airline is needed, because well, the natural disasters can hit pretty hard. So for periods up to 3 to 12 months, we can be nearly out of operation. So for that, you need your resilience as a company.
Yeah, and that's a really challenging operating environment. So would you say those 3 factors are the same ways that you help to adapt to the fluctuating demand that you see as well?
Well, in our area, in the end, the demand is not that fluctuating. As an airline, we have different categories of passengers. The most important is international leisure travel. So what happens if, for instance, 1 or 2 destinations are hit by a natural situation like a hurricane? Well, most people will decide to go to another island. So in that sense, we need to be able to adapt our program. But we can. We've shown in the past that that's quite straightforward to do. So being adaptive in the program is a good solution to this.
Absolutely, and then so we've opened by talking about some of the challenges, but of course the region is flooded with opportunities as well. What are some of these that are unique to the region you're serving, and how are you positioning yourself to leverage this?
Yeah, I'm not sure if opportunities is the right word, but simply the fact that the Caribbean exists of about 22 islands that sometimes are very small, with a very small infrastructure, leads to the situation that the big legacy carriers can't operate to all these islands. So we have, I gave you an example, Saba. Saba is a beautiful little island. It has 1,500 people living there, and it has a runway that can only accommodate very small aircraft. So as a regional carrier with small aircraft, you can, we as Winair, we can provide feed to the big legacy carriers. So we operate to all these islands, and we connect people from these islands to the rest of the world, and vice versa. We connect people from the world to these islands, and again, the big carriers can't do that. So it creates a lot of possibilities. Unfortunately, there are many airlines who have the same business model. So it's quite a battle out there.
I can imagine that. Yeah. And you said that generally demand is fairly consistent.
Yes.
What about growth in the region, or growth opportunities? Is there much scope for this?
Yeah, it depends a bit on how you define growth, because in the Caribbean, well, we exist for 65 years. We have another airline, Caribbean Airlines, that exists for quite a while. But in general, airlines go bankrupt. And they pop up again. So growth maybe is not something to strive for in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, is stability is the most important. To be able to transport your customers, well, as you promised, or on a certain time, because many routes are very thin. I will give you an example. We have 2 countries, St. Kitts and Nevis, which is 50,000 people, and we have Antigua, 100,000 people living there. But there are 5 airlines serving between these 2 islands, which if you would transform that, for instance, to the United States, and okay, imagine yourself that between two cities of 50,000 and 100,000 people, 5 airlines would operate, it would never work out. And also in the Caribbean, it does not really work out. So it leads to well, a lot of competition and bankruptcies. But somehow these airlines keep on popping up. Well, we are here for 65 years, so because we have the connectivity with the big airlines, so we have code shares and interlines with United, JetBlue, KLM, Air France, that gives us a very stable base to transport passengers all around the region.
Absolutely, so a different perspective on what's needed.
Yeah.
So, like you said, 65 years makes you the Caribbean's oldest airline. What are some of the ways you innovate to keep up with the digital demands of passengers?
Yeah, that's an interesting one in the region where even an online boarding pass is not accepted on many airports. So if you checked in online. And you come to security, they will tell you to go back to the check-in desk to get yourself a paper boarding pass. You can't even print it out yourself. It has to be an official boarding pass. So technical innovation is quite difficult. On the other hand, we are working together with many international airlines. So, for instance, in connectivity, in being present in all distribution systems. As a small airline, you can buy our tickets via any platform possible. So that did really help us in the past 10-20 years to grow our presence in the region and to help us to grow our fleet, which is a kind of it's a circular thing, because at a certain moment we have the size that we have, which gives us stability, because many airlines in the region are small, can't pay for any innovation, can't pay for any digitalization, and as a consequence they leave the market again. So with the size we now have, and I think this event is a good example, we are looking for technological solutions which are applicable to smaller airlines, which can help us to distinguish ourselves from the many competitors. But again, in the Caribbean we're in a completely different phase than, for instance, in the States or in Europe. But it's a nice challenge to face.
Absolutely. So again, it's about understanding your customer and their needs, as well as balancing that with the airlines. Yeah,
which makes it a balancing task, because 50% of our customers are international leisure travelers who are having certain habits in the way they travel in their own home country. But somehow they very easily adapt. Once in the Caribbean, they have no problem standing in the line again at the check-in desk. So luckily for us, many people accommodate, they adapt themselves to the local circumstances. So we're quite happy with that.
And then if we think about sort of tech innovation, maybe not on the passenger-facing side, but operationally, how are you guys leveraging this?
Well, operationally, again, the Caribbean is in a different phase than many other parts of the world. Operationally, it's strange to use the word innovation, but for me the real innovation was when I started 2 years ago, is to stop cancelling flights. And that's not a technology innovation, but in this region, it's completely accepted also by customers that flights are cancelled or changed or delayed. And if that happens, then passengers kind of like, okay, and they go back home. So the biggest innovation is not to do that, which creates a much more reliable schedule, and it really helps us to get top of mind with customers. So again, the word innovation might be very strange for this, because it's kind of basic operational decisions just to keep your schedule. But in the Caribbean, with that, you already stand out quite a bit. So
fantastic. Well, thanks for joining me today, Hans, and sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me.